Mamy nowe ukryte znaczenie, słuchajcie, przecieków Skibidi Toilet, także serdecznie was zapraszam. Iron Cameraman tutaj ma opinię na ten temat. Jakieś nowe spostrzeżenia, być może których my nie potrafimy sobie tutaj odgadnąć, więc zapraszam. Zostawcie lajkę. Naukowiec, tak? No właśnie, ja to wam powtarzałem wielokrotnie, że sekretny agent celowo chciał zniszczyć naukowca, ale czemu? Być może to naukowiec stał za sojuszem z Astro toaletami.
Once again interferes in the events of the series, even not just interferes, but literally controls everyone and does what he needs, using almost everyone around to implement his plans. But have you noticed that in this popular judgment among viewers, there is one small detail that changes everything? The thing is that throughout the series, he did come into contact with many people. However, we never once saw Da Fook Boom come into contact with the Astro toilets. Though on the other hand, we already had a clue in episode 70 that he was aware of the Astro toilets plan from somewhere. And given that we're only watching the show on behalf of the cameramen, not counting a couple of episodes with exceptions, there's a possibility that he already had contact with them, as he did with the scientist. Or another likely option.
No to jest na 100% potwierdzone, że miał kontakt, no bo gadał z naukowcem, nie? Naukowiec z nim gadał, z sekretnym agentem. No i co za tym idzie, G-Mana też widział, bo wtedy jak ten kamera został zniszczony przez G-Mana, to on podszedł do tej kamery. No to G-Man tam był, nie?
Is that he learned about them from the scientist, who definitely had a connection to the Astro toilets. Of all the characters in the show, he was the one who was friends, or at least could find common ground with them. The scientist barely managed to negotiate a peace agreement.
Ja nie wiem, czy to G-Man nie chodzi... A nie, bo to już wcześniej G-Mana ten jakby oskarżali.
Even had to pretend to be someone he wasn't in order to make an alliance and make his plan a reality. And in the end, who was the most vocal supporter and the mastermind?
Mi się wydaje, że G-Man zdradził naukowca.
Behind the strategy to kill the scientist. That's right, secret agent, which brings up some strange thoughts, which is what we're going to talk about today. I also want to talk about Skibidi toilets and Astro toilet technology and find all their similarities. Especially we'll be reminiscing about good old G-Man and his connection to secret agent himself.
O, właśnie, ten moment wam mówię, że on... G-Man wtedy był tam, nie?
We'll also go over the Alliance and the Skibidi toilets. I advise you to be prepared because I kept these thoughts and reasoning in a black box in the deepest part of my basement for a long time until the time came, and you will soon understand why I decided to open this Pandora's box now. So put like and subscribe to the channel because most of my viewers watch me unsubscribe.
Wy też subskrybujcie, lajkujcie, bo to, co on powie, będzie bardzo ważne, naprawdę.
I will release another video about the scientist, which will be a full dissection of him down to the smallest detail and even some clues that he may return to the series. Anyway, here we go. Just recently rewatching the series, I noticed something interesting. After episode 70, specifically after the death of the scientist, the Astro toilets launched a full-scale offensive, destroying everything in their path. Buildings, cities, maybe even countries, killing both Skibidi toilets and agents in the process. And I wondered why. After the scientist's death, the Astros decided to attack. As we've seen, they had enough power to wipe out all life on Earth and they would have destroyed it long ago. So their long period of inaction seemed strange.
No właśnie, to jest dziwne. Może czekali aż przylecą wszyscy, nie? No ale to jest dziwne właśnie, że nie atakowali wcześniej, tylko dopiero jak naukowiec został zniszczony, nie?
And then I realized that most likely the scientist was the link that kept the Astros going for such a long time. As proof of this, we can remember the document from episode 70. This document looked like some sort of treaty or agreement. Also remember the 60th episode where the Astro literally in the open decided to act themselves, but again they were prevented by the scientist, not allowing the death of G-Man, which makes the assumption that the scientist was holding the Astros back and preventing them from acting seem likely. We know that the scientist is not stupid. He has a brain that is developed both scientifically and strategically. That's why he was able to negotiate with the Astro, and not just negotiate, but come to a common agreement and save G-Man from execution. From this we realize that the scientist may have already been familiar with the Astro before the events of the series or was one of them. Now let's get to the point.
No właśnie, no. To jest jasne, że albo był jednym z nich, albo miał jakiś coś wiecie, na rzeczy, coś wspólnego i dlatego sekretny agent go chciał zniszczyć.
You and I, throughout the series, may have noticed technology and abilities that are now exactly like Astro toilet technology. Let's start, perhaps,
Glitch,
with the
nie?
trivial. It's Skibidi Flash and Skibidi Rocket from episode 14. I mean, these are literally the first bids for super-fast Astro toilets. While the Flash themselves are literally the little Astros we saw in episode 76. They are very similar in abilities, design, and purpose. Also, laser weapons, claws, and more. I'd also like to remind you that the scientist created suits with red eyes to be more like Astros. But also on the document from episode 70, in addition to the scientist's red eyes, there was a halo behind his head. The same one that the Astro woman and some of the larger Astros have.
No właśnie, być może rzeczywiście naukowiec był Astro toaletą, nie? Tak jak G-Man.
So it seems that the scientist was really one of the Astro toilets, and that's why he was able to negotiate with them? Let's get to the bottom of this. Before we continue, I wanted to ask you to ask me, Iron Cameraman, any questions you would like to ask me. I will select the best among them and answer them directly in the video. I will do something like an interview. So let's quickly go down to the comments and write your questions. All right, moving on. From all of the above, you might say, Skibidi scientist is an Astro toilet. But no, he never was. The scientist is a regular Skibidi toilets. Many facts prove this. For one thing, he has normal eyes, not red like the rest of the Astro toilets. G-Man could well have told about the technology he created, since he used to be one of the Astro commanders, as we know, and clearly knew more than the average fighter. Therefore, he could well share his knowledge with the scientist. By the way, you can tell here that G-Man also does not have red eyes.
Tylko pytanie, czemu G-Man stał się normalną toaletą? W jaki sposób to się stało, nie? To jest dziwne.
He is an Astro toilet. That's weird. Yes, but as we know, G-Man's status was taken away from him, and with it his technology and powers. So it's likely that the Astro energy was taken away from our G-Man, so to speak. And
Aha, czyli może odebrana G-Manowi i naukowiec mu chciał...
His eyes changed color to the opposite of Astro,
Ciekawe.
meaning they became blue. From this thought, we can understand that the scientist was not an Astro toilet, as his eyes are of ordinary Skibidi toilet color. But why did the scientist design his suits specifically with red eyes? It is quite possible that he pretended to be an Astro toilet for a more loyal attitude in negotiations. After all, judge for yourself, who is more reasonable to believe? A pathetic Skibidi toilets, who is worth much lower than an Astro, or his fellow man? So he decided to pretend to be an Astro toilet, thus deceiving them and making a deal. In the meantime, he
A raczej to jest już zbyt za dużo interpretacja, że udawali Astro toaletę i tak dalej. Moim zdaniem to ściema.
Just to counter the Astro and destroy the Alliance. After all, together G-Man and the scientist could do a lot of things and had already started to do so, until Secret Agent got to know about it. But there's a catch. Astro toilets aren't dumb enough to fall for such a ruse purely because of the color of their eyes.
Szczerze nie podoba mi się w ogóle ta teoria. Taka jest... Raczej to jest mało prawdopodobne, że to tak wyglądało, że naukowiec chciał oszukać Astro.
That there were two scientists originally, and somewhere there is a version with an Astro who got lost somewhere.
Dwóch naukowców, że jest? O kurde. No to teraz mnie zaskoczył.
The Skibidi scientist version and came up with such a cunning plan. But we'll talk more about that in the next video, so subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out.
Ciekawe
Well, now it's time
pomysł.
to figure out what Secret Agent is doing in this story. As I said, the scientist was the one holding back the Astro while preparing his plan to create a new strongest Titan. As you know, my theory is that Secret Agent and G-Man have a little deal. I won't plunge you into its essence, so if you're interested, watch this clip if you haven't seen it. But the main point is that Dafouk has planned everything out in this war a long time ago. He has calculated who should die, who should survive. So in this war of the Alliance and the Skibidi toilets...
Może już to, wiecie, to jest taka pętla, że tę walkę cały czas ktoś przegrywa, wygrywa i on chce znaleźć odpowiednią jakby wiecie, strategię, żeby wygrać,
He
nie?
has acted for both sides, helping both. That's what you and I have seen throughout the series. And he didn't really like the scientist's plan. Secret Agent wanted to eventually bring the Alliance and the Skibidi toilets together to defeat the Astros. And the scientist was in his way, as he was holding back the Astro toilets and getting away from his plan. That's why he let him be killed, so that everything would be as he planned. He wanted a union of the two races, and he accomplished
No to, że chciał połączenia, to na pewno i dlatego ten naukowiec zginął, nie?
that.
Na
Now we've
stówę.
already seen the union of small groups, but there are still those who don't want that union. And for the union to be made official, there must be some unexpected and noble act of one of the races.
O, Tytan, kamera pewnie będzie uratowany, no.